Hi, I'm Peter. This is the Peter on Health channel. This video is called my OMAD Today. OMAD stands for only, one meal a day. And I'm going to go into the details of it. Um, the idea for this video came from, I guess, this video I was watching. This person is called Casey Means. She's a doctor. And this Andrew Huberman, his channel, and it's like 3 hours long, and they go deep into science and that. This section is about ultra processed food, right, and why they're so crappy. Anyway, I'm going to do another video about Casey and her brother, and I bought their book called Good Energy, and on another video. But one of the things they do is they talk about ultra processed foods, which are um, refined sugar, like fructose, and vegetable oils like canola and seed oils, basically. And then third is refined wheat. And so I'm going to go through my meal today. And here was my meal. And so let's go through what the meal was. So for drinks, black coffee, no added nothing, just black coffee. And this is our water. And it's from the tap, but we have a Berkey, what is it, filter, and it takes out all the crap. And, so whatever is coming through our tap, from the city gets filtered by this Berkey filter. It's got ceramic filters in there. And so this is about 3 cups. And in that bottle, I put about a teaspoon of salt. And I learned about that. I started doing fasting, intermittent fasting, 5 years ago. And when I started it, I noticed that I would cramp during my sleep. My muscles would start to cramp, my calves, my hamstrings. And so I looked that up, and I guess when you fast, the rest of the day, you're sweating and giving off salt, and you might not have enough salt. And so basically I add salt to my water, and that got rid of the cramps. Anyway, okay, now in terms of food, this is meat. This is ribs and some pork. And my wife made that. It's delicious. I always start the meal with protein. And I learned about that. I used to wear a CGM, which is, glucose under my arm, right? And it's continuous. And, you can look at your glucose on your phone. And people said this, and I proved it to myself, that if you start, your meal with protein, it blunts the glucose, the rise of glucose when you're eating, versus like starting with what I ended it with. This is fruit, some fruit from our trees. I think that from our trees we have pear. I have pear in there and plum, and then some blueberries that my wife bought, and then there's nuts, almonds, and walnuts from the store, and honey from the store, and that's what's the dessert. So if I started with that, I might get a higher glucose response versus starting with the protein. So that's what this is. This is steamed veggies, and there's broccoli and cauliflower in there, and obviously carrots. My wife bought these from the store. What I do is I steam these, and then I drizzle olive oil, and then sprinkle it with salt, and I squeeze a little bit of lemon in there, and so that's that one. This one down here is a cabbage and some other vegetables. You can see, I think there's carrots in there, and not sure what else, but it's a crunch made by my wife again. And it's got a little bit of vinegar in it. There's no oil in it, but just a little bit of vinegar and these vegetables, and it's delicious and crunchy. Okay, this is avocado with some green onions, and again drizzled with olive oil and salt. And this is corn that was steamed with these veggies, and again drizzled with olive oil and sprinkled with salt. So you can see what I'm doing for fats, right? Like it's olive oil is my main fat. Avocado has fat. Nuts have fat, and so a little bit of animal fat, right? The pork, at the beginning of it. And then there's two sort of sandwiches. What this is, so I have a sourdough starter, and every day I feed the sourdough, the starter, and I take out 100 grams of it, and I can throw that away. But then I learned that after about a month of doing that every day, you can do something with that 100 grams, and all I do is fry it in olive oil, sprinkle some salt, and and I get this circular kind of almost like a bread thing, right? Which is just cooked sourdough starter, and then this is peanut butter made from dry peanut butter and salt and nothing else. And what this is quite interesting. This is actually a slice of sourdough bread I made from this starter a couple days ago. Again, all that's in that bread is seeds, wheat seeds that I ground up, and added the starter, added water, and a little bit of salt, and did some process folding, blah, whatever, and then baked the bread. And anyway, this is a slice of it toasted, and what's on there is I first put a little butter on it, and then on top of the butter I put this jam made of quince and honey. That's the only two ingredients. The quince is from our quince tree outside our house here. And it's a recipe I discovered that goes back to the Roman times, where you soften and cook the quince, and you get 3/4 of the weight of the quince. You put honey and mix it together, and if you want, you can crush some nuts and mix that. And I think I did that with this batch, and it is freaking delicious. Although it takes a long time, you cook it one day. There's a recipe, and then they say it's best to leave it in the fridge for 30 days, and the tastes come out. I'm not a super taster, but man, is that good. So what you can see in this meal is not a single ultra-processed food, no refined sugar. The only sugar here is honey. Sweet sugar. I mean, everything has carbohydrate and some sugar. Even nuts have a little bit, but I'm talking about sweet sugar. It's honey, and I've tested that with CGM honey, and it doesn't have a big glucose spike for me. It doesn't have any refined flour. It has only whole flour. That's the sourdough starter and um, the sourdough bread that I made, you know, from the whole kernel of seed. So there's no refined. What Casey talks about, what is refined wheat? In their book, they have a great analogy. You know how you have an egg, and there's a shell of an egg, and then inside the shell is the white, and inside the white part is the yellow yolk. And a wheat kernel is the same thing. Outside is I think the bran, then I can't remember what the white part is called, and then there's the germ, which is the yolk. And what ultra processed foods do is they get rid of the bran and the white part, whatever that's called, like endosperm maybe, I don't know. And then they just keep the germ, which is basically sugar. And so there's my meal, and it's my only meal of the day. And you'd say, well, geez, Peter, why are you eating only one meal a day? Well, I learned about intermittent fasting way back during this is a spreadsheet I've shown in previous videos. During the lockdowns, the COVID lockdowns in 2020, I started fasting. And I've shown this chart, and just quickly what this is. This is my chronological age, so I'm 61 years old talking to you right now. I was born in 63. And this is the red dotted line is my biological age according to a 2018 paper that I've already discussed previous video. And what I've discussed in some videos like about that is look at this. So this biological age comes up and down and up and down and up and down and up. And look at this down. 6 years it dropped from 2020 to 2021. What is that drop? That was me starting intermittent fasting. Now, I can't tell you it was intermittent fasting that dropped me 6 years. I'm not inside my body. You're not inside my body. But, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And so I started pretty aggressively. A lot of people recommend start on a 16-8, eat in an 8-hour window and fast for 16. I started 24, so eat in a 4-hour window, fast for 20. And I found it easy to start that way. I was 57 when I started, and as soon as I started, I realized I was like eating too much. So what I would do is usually that 4 hours would start at 10 o'clock in the morning and end at 2. So I'd have a big breakfast at 10 a.m., kind of like that, maybe not that much, but, and then, try to sneak in a meal around 1 o'clock. And what I found over a year of doing that was I was starving for that morning one, absolutely freaking starving. But that second one at 1 p.m., I had to force myself to eat. I didn't feel like eating at 1. You know what I mean? Like I was not even remotely hungry. And, so what I did after a year and a half of fasting is just do OMAD and basically eat a crap load, right? Like this is a crap load. In fact, this was such an enormous crap load that this is me finished, right? All those plates in that show, and I finished the coffee, drank some of the water, right? All those little plates are stacked here. I ate everything except a little bit, maybe half, maybe a third of the bowl of the nuts, honey, and fruit, my dessert, right? I got to this point and I was stuffed. I was like super stuffed. I was so full that I just I can't eat another bite. And so what's interesting about that is when I started fasting at 57, 50, was it 56? I don't know. It was 2020. Yeah, 57. And when I started, I'd lost my full signal. I mean, I remember as a kid, feeling this, like, oh, I'm so full. Now, Mom, I can't eat anymore. And And I kind of lost that feeling, right? I just would eat, and I'm like, I don't know, I guess I could eat some more. I don't know. It's like you just lose that. A lot of us, as we get older, we lose the feeling of fullness. And apparently that hormone is called leptin, I think it is. And the hunger hormone is called ghrelin. And but I would have the hunger, feeling, but I wouldn't have the full feeling. Well, when I started fasting in 2020, it came back like a thunderclap, this feeling of fullness, right? Like today, this is, what I ate. I showed you the picture, and I got to this point in the bowl, and I'm like, I can't eat another bite. But here's the other thing, right? So, like, I'm full, so I'm going to stop eating. What am I going to do with that little bit of extra fruit? Throw it out? I can't put it in the compost. Got the honey. Put it in our cooked food bucket. I could do that. Could put it in the fridge, eat it tomorrow, part of my OMAD. But I have a little voice in my ear, and maybe it's my mother. She died in 1999, but there's a voice in me says, waste not, want not. Basically, don't leave any food on your plate. And so, it's a psychological issue. And the question is, well, I am full. I don't feel like eating. But I got this voice saying, come on, Peter, finish that. So what do I do? Well, we live on a 5-acre farm. If you take a loop around the edge, it's bigger than in one lap of a track, more than a quarter mile. So basically walking from one corner to the other, you're walking hundreds of meters. So this is what I did at this point. I said, I got to make some more space in my gut. And how do you make more space in your gut? I walked out to the chicken coop and I collected a nice blue egg from the chickens. And then I walked to the far corner of the property where I was pruning a pepper tree. And I'm preparing this little log that I cut off here. That was, it's a low slung one, but it was right along the ground. So I'm digging under the log and I'm going to clean it up so I can cut it with a chainsaw without dirtying the chainsaw. And anyway, so here I am full, and I'm just doing a little light digging, and like I said, just walk into the chicken coop. That's the chicken coop right there, and collecting an egg. And in doing that, I burp a couple times, and it's just like, and then, my stomach is now starting to digest, and it's settling. And after all that walking, well, it's not all that walking, it's just a little bit of walking. I came in to clean up after myself, so clean my dishes, get them in the dishwasher, get the dishwasher running. And in the middle of all that, I was like, I got a little space left in my stomach. So I finished off the breakfast. And so, yeah, I took a picture of the wood pile where that log's going to go. And I'm going to talk about this in another video, just how, for health reasons and whatever, but also, it's for home heating. It's got many purposes. This wood processing that I do, I love it, by the way. I didn't do it as a kid, but I've learned about it as an adult, and man, I love it. I just love it. And it's so healthy to do. What's that famous saying? What do we do after the Enlightenment? Chop wood and carry water. So when I cut this piece, I poured some water. So I carried a bucket of water over here, and I dumped it in there just to soften the ground so I could dig right under the log. So that's me carrying water. And this is where I chop wood. Those are the two stumps I use to, chop wood on. So I'm happy to chop wood and carry water, like the ancients used to say. But anyway, that's my OMAD. And just to say, I'll say one more thing about, like, it's not ultra processed. There was a video Jimmy Dore did. It was kind of funny, and he basically said the video was called "Joe Rogan Unloads on Time Magazine for Pushing Processed Foods." And what Jimmy shows is that last year, and he circles it, January 9th, 2023, um, Time magazine wrote an article saying why ultra processed foods are so bad for you. So they're telling the truth about ultra processed foods, which is they're horrible. They make us sick and obese and all this stuff, right? And Time was agreeing with that a year ago. And but for some reason, a year and a half. This is January of 2023. For some reason, a year and a half later, they say why one dietitian is speaking up for ultra processed foods. And in fact, they changed the name of the title to Ultra Processed Foods Are Good for You. And then there was a furor on Twitter, like saying, this is just propaganda, whatever, whatever. And Time saw that and they were like, oh, we better change the title. So they reduced it from ultra processed foods are good for you to saying, well, at least one doctor says they're good for you, one dietitian, right? And the reason I bring all that up is to say what I just said here about my OMAD and how there's no unprocessed foods in there. They're whole foods and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I'm just one guy. I'm Peter on health. This is coming out, man. RFK, who just joined Trump, is talking about ultra-processed foods. This Casey Means and her brother who got on Tucker Carlson, and they've been making the rounds on the different, I showed you the Huberman video. And I bought their book. It's #1 on Amazon. This is coming out. This ultra processed food stuff is finally like seeing the light of day, and which is why the propagandists Time in a year and a half go from saying it's good for you, it's bad for you, to it's good for you. So anyway, stay tuned. This is just me saying I've been eating this way for 5 years, but I'm excited to see that, this way that I'm eating, which is, you could call it quirky, you can call it, old-fashioned. It's going to be what a lot of Americans are doing when they learn that anything in a frickin' plastic bag, food that comes in a plastic bag that has more than 1 or 2 ingredients that you can picture as a food, things like natural flavors, vegetable oil, sugar, which is the refined high fructose corn syrup, it's just, this is toxic, xanthan gum and blah, blah, blah. Just, you avoid that stuff like the plague, you eat the way I do, you're going to be healthy like me. And what does healthy like me mean? It means that at the age of 61, I'm biologically 44, 17, 18 years younger. And anyway, I'll leave it at that. That's my OMAD. It's now 2 p.m. California. I ate that breakfast around 10 a.m. So it's about 4 hours later, and I've drank 1 full bottle of my salted water, and this is my second bottle, and I haven't, maybe I'll just take a sip here. Put some ice cubes in there, that's nice and cool. I am so stuffed. I'm still stuffed. I'm not going to be stuffed till I go to bed, probably. That was a lot of food I ate, maybe a little more than normal because my wife made some wonderful food. And anyway, there you go. 1 meal a day of great food. Now, could I make it better? Could I make it organic and grass-fed and all that stuff? Yeah. But let's just start with the worst. Get all the ultra-processed foods out of your diet. Get it all out of your drinks, out of your food. If you can do that, then you're at my stage. And then the next stage is, sure, get the pesticides out, get the hormones out of the meat, all that stuff. But I'm just saying, the first thing is like killing us and making us old. I'm saying if I can be eating food with pesticides and some meat with hormones, and I can be biologically 43, once I clean out all that stuff, what am I going to be, 33? I don't know, man. I'm doing something right. Anyway, take care, stay healthy, my friends.